over how to get the user to be able to navigate the world. You'll notice there that I have got it working just to show you that when you do click on the various arrows, the user, which is a very pretty X, and it's not the prettiest of drawn images, but as he or she navigates through the world and you click the buttons, the images will move around and he'll remain in the center of the world. The image, the user will just be added with the image of the object that it interacts with, so it will come with across there. In this episode, or step of this program, we're not going to make the user interaction smooth, but it's simply that every single time you click, it will go through. In step 3, we'll be going over the interact, answer, or pick up. Interact should be able to pick up the object to be able to use, which the box can be done. The pig will ask you a question. If you interact with the box, it should be able to pick it up. Those kind of things should happen. You'd obviously have to add an area to have an inventory, that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go through that detail. I'm just going to literally have it so the pig will answer you, ask you a question, the box will say something, or whatever. You'd have to solve the more detailed issue. If you take a look at the way this was coded, there was a couple of errors that were happening with regards to working with the user, to place the user there as well then before getting moving. So in another 1A of this, or step 2.1, I went through the fact that the fact that I created a new separate, so I could have the user added to here, so it wasn't just creating a duplicate or another pointer to the same reference and duplicating the person. In this case, the other issue that what had occurred is I was accessing the incorrect position. I was getting the position of the user here. That was another area that was there. So you got to make sure you're working with the correct position, I and J, of the actual world when you're getting the positions. So it's just something to be careful of, is to be careful of which position you're referring to here, with having R, J, X, and Y, and pos X and pos Y. So all of those are quite important that you understand the difference of. And literally on the prospect of moving is actually easier than you might think. The first thing that you're going to be doing is in your UI, because now that we've done it like that, we've generating the display, which you could call the viewport, from the position and relative to where the user is. So when you press the up, down, I've just created a method called move, and I sent through a character to it. I've associated with WASD because that's one of your controls is that. So when you click on each of the buttons, it would associate with that. And then all I did is from my manager, I worked with the move, and in the user thing, I worked with the move. So literally, it sends it from one through to the next to the next. So as it will do, it will just go to my world manager, and my world manager would send it through to my user, which would have the details of the X and Y position of where he is or she is on the world. When you press the button, it will check what characters and change the X and Y accordingly, and then afterwards the GUI will say load, or actually I don't need that, I just need the reload, and in which case that would run your get display, which now, because the user has been updated with new X and Y coordinates, the display port or the viewport that we are loading here will now be generating from a different X and Y position, because the user will be in different X and Y. So the 10 by 10 grid will be different inside the 1000 by 1000 grid. That will change the relative position. If you take a look down here, okay, so when I press, you see I've got the X and Y coordinates. You'll see there that the X and Y of the user here is 505, 505. Now as soon as I press the down arrow once, you'll see that the next generated numbers, because I did print out the various different positions, is 506, 505, so that would just be generating the world from a different set of coordinates. Okay, so that's the user movement is concerned. If you get getting the display port correct based on the user that we created earlier, remember the user contains the X and Y position that is, so if you get that right, it's actually very easy to do. You just change the X and Y depending on what letter the user works through. And again, you're trying to encapsulate, so when you encapsulate it, you ensure that because the user is moving, the user should have his X and Y changed, so he should be dealing with that. So you literally from your UI, you pass it to your world manager, and from your world manager, you pass it through to your user, and then from your user, you would physically move depending on which way the user interacted. Yeah, so this is step 2 done. Step 3 will follow.